everybody, how's it going? So today we are checking out the new Reamp boxes from Signal Art. Now, you guys have heard me ranting and raving about these things over the last, I don't know how many months, and I'm finally getting around to being able to do a dedicated video. It's just been one of those things like, yeah, I gotta do this, and never quite get it done, even though I wind up using these things day in and day out. Well, here we go. So we've got two models to check out. We've got the regular Signal Art Reamp, and we've got the Angry Reamp, and I'm gonna explain to you guys what this is all about and what the differences are in just a few minutes. Basically, all I'm doing here is taking an output from my patch bay over on the desk there, which is like output number 8 out of my RME Fireface UFX Plus, and going into the input. I'm using a little signal reverser because it's a TT patch bay, and I've only got a female output. We've got a little ground lift switch, and you take your guitar cable, plug it in here, that goes into your amp, and that's basically it. Now, I did a full tutorial on how to reamp and how to set everything up for that a couple of years ago. That's called How to Reamp Heavy Guitar, and I've got a link to that video in the description below. So if you're unfamiliar with reamping or you're not quite sure how to set things up, I would highly recommend checking out that video. It lays it all out for you in terms so simple, even a bass player could do it. Anyway, let's check out how the Signal Art boxes sound. Okay, so we're over at the desk, and I've got my 3 different reamp boxes here. We've got the Signal Art Reamp, we've got the Angry Reamp, and we've got my old standby, the Radial X amp. Now, I've used this since about 2005. I've definitely struggled to get good sounds with it. I mean, like, I thought it was my fault I wasn't miking things correctly. Something always seemed a little bit off with it, and well, after putting it up against one of the Signal Art ones, I come to realize it's not my fault. It might actually be the gear here. So the story behind this is simple. I was visiting James Murphy there a couple years ago, and he's a good buddy. He was the lead guitar player in Death, Obituary, a whole bunch of other death metal bands. Amazing guitar player. And I was checking out some of his guitar equipment, and he had this neat little box sitting there. I'm like, what's this all about? And he's like, oh, that's the best reamp box ever made. And he introduced me to Chad Kelly, who designs the Signal Art reamp box. And Chad sent me a prototype there a couple of years back, and I'm like, that's close, but it's not loud enough. So I sent it back to him. He had a custom transformer design for this thing and sent it back to me. And lo and behold, it was the coolest thing ever. I've got 2 of them sitting down in LA. Alex Nasla has my first one, and it's got a little sticker instead of a steel badge. This is like the second version of this. It's much more solid, and yeah, this is pretty awesome. The knob's pretty great. Now, I've usually got the knob right around 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock position on this, and that's all you need because it's actually, if you start cranking it over, it really does seem to be pushing things just a little bit too hard. Whereas the X amp, when you max it out, I mean, it still feels like it should go up another few notches, like 4 or 5, something like that. Let me show you what I mean. So we're going to take a listen to some full mixes here. And this is the track I used on the Sigma a few weeks back. I thought it'd be a great track to do some reamping with. It's great performance from Eric Arco on guitar and bass and Jackson Ward on the drums. And just to show you guys what's going on, I've got the Angry Reamp here, I've got the regular Signal Art, and then I've got the X amp. Those 3 are using this, by the way, my Maxon OD808 overdrive. And then I've got 3 without the overdrive as well, just so we can show you guys exactly what's going on. Then we're going to listen to some soloed up tracks so you can hear the differences there too. Now, the main difference between the regular Reamp and the Angry Reamp is based on a little something Andy Sneap came up with, and that is this little trick he does on the guitars with the Pultec EQ, where he boosts and cuts at 30 hertz. Like, he does this massive boost and massive cuts, so it creates this weird harmonic distortion thing going on, not down in somewhere you can hear. Like, we can't hear lower than 40 hertz, but it creates overtones and harmonic distortion in the area that we can hear. So it kind of fattens up the guitars a little bit in the low end of the spectrum, and it's a very cool effect. What Chad did was he added a 25 hertz boost and cut. So that's even lower, and it just adds a little bit of subtlety to it. I'm not sure how much you're going to hear it in a processed full mix, but again, that's why I've got some of the raw tracks as well. So let's take a listen here. So here's with an overdrive. The shift between the Angry Reamp and the regular Reamp is pretty subtle, but when you get to the X amps, it's like, whoa, what happened? Something went wrong. We go back up to the top here. It's like the guitars just come to life when you put in the signal art reamp. And again, we go no overdrive, the difference becomes even more apparent. Check this out. It's like, what the hell happened to the guitars? Remember, the X amp is maxed out completely. Like, this knob will not go any further, whereas this still has tons of headroom. So that's kind of a big deciding factor right there. Like, seriously, let's go back. Let's check out another riff here. Same idea. You know, just the top end on the guitars just comes to life. And again, we go, you know, with an overdrive, it's even more apparent. Said, I'm not so sure about the shift between the angry reamp and the regular signal art reamp. Like, I've got 3 iterations here set up. There's no processing going on these guitars other than the Polar Designer by Austrian Audio, because I'm using the OC818 mic on these examples. If you guys haven't checked out my video on the OC818, please do. It is the single most badass guitar mic I've ever come across. The fact that you can change the polar pattern on different bands after you've recorded just totally makes my day. It just lets you dial it a tone to utter perfection. It is so cool. Anyway, continuing on here. So let's listen to some soloed up versions. That's angry. That's regular. And then X amp. Like, the difference is not, so this is just kind of quacky in the mid-range. It's kind of brutal, to be honest with you. Now, that's using the Maxon as well. If we pull up the non-Maxon tracks, this is where it gets kind of frightening. Again, you can see just how lacking the X amp is in comparison. So let's check this out one more time. So angry reamp. Because there's no overdrive, there's a lot more bottom end going on. This is where we might hear a little bit more difference with the angry reamp versus the regular reamp. So let's check out all 3 again. And that's the X amp there. The X amp sounds kind of weak, to be honest with you. I'm not super impressed with that at all. I forgot to mention, yeah, that's all into my Rev Generator 120 there. Everything's using exactly the same settings. Both of the angry reamp and the regular reamp are set the exact same way, and the X amp, like I said, is cranked, and it's just it's not subtle. Again, on the chugging here, like, the available signal there is so much more apparent. But again, let's listen to the bottom end here between the angry and the regular reamp. That's this track here and this here. It is a little thicker in the bottom end. If we go to the reamp version, or if we go to the overdrive versions of those two, I think it's kind of the same idea. It's just maybe a little bit thicker. Bring that up. Now, Now, this is the thing, you know, when you start to develop ear fatigue and whatnot, when you're doing ramping like this, I definitely recommend taking a lot of breaks. Otherwise, you're just going to drive yourself crazy because you won't be able to hear those subtle shifts anymore. It's a very good idea to hit this stuff with fresh ears because you will experience a point of diminishing returns when if you've been doing this too long, you're just not going to be able to tell the difference anymore because your brain's just going to get confused. And yeah, it's best to go do something else and then come back for a couple minutes, like go make a coffee, tea, something like that, and just come back with some fresh ears and go, oh, okay, great, because I always find that really helps quite a bit. But again, we go back over to the X-Amp version. It's like it's just Quack City. Yeah, I'm not sure what's going on there. Like I said, the difference between the angry and the regular reamp, I don't know how big the difference is with some processing going on. It's kind of hard to tell, especially with the overdrive and the signal path. Actually, no, I let me rephrase that. I don't have any processing going on. If I were to like throw on my regular EQ stack here. Okay. Yeah, there is a slight difference going on, say in the 300-400 region, maybe ever so slightly. I don't know. Maybe I'm just bullshitting myself at this point. Maybe I've been listening too long. Who knows? The big thing is, though, yes, you can definitely tell a massive difference between the Radial and the signal art. The big question is, do we need the angry reamp? I don't know. I've been playing around with it, and I definitely have not been disappointed with the results. That is for sure. I've been really happy. I mean, like, you guys remember that track I did there a couple weeks ago when I demoed the OC818. That was using the angry reamp. And yeah, I was just thrilled beyond belief with the results I was getting and with the guitar sounds. So there is that. Now, I understand a bunch of you guys might be scratching your heads, or if you're listening on your phone, that might not be the optimal place to be, doing critical listening for guitar signals. And even, the YouTube algorithm can compress things a little bit until they're beyond recognition. You might not hear the subtle shifts that I'm hearing here in the control room. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make these tracks available to listen to. I'm going to send you guys 6 full mixes with and without the overdrive. Plus, I'm going to have 6 variations of single tracks with and without overdrive, but no processing going on, just so you guys can listen to the raw sound and hear what's really going on. I am going to mix the 2 elements of the mic down with the Polar Designer so you can hear exactly what I'm going on, but there's no other post-processing going on, no EQ compression or anything like that, just so you guys can get an idea what's going on. Anyway, you want to get that, make sure you follow the link in the description below. I'm also going to have a link to the Signal Art website, because if you're into doing reamping, or if you want to get into reamping, this is definitely the box you want to get, in my opinion. I've been doing reamping for 15 years. Now, you guys heard it here yourselves right in this video. The X-Amp just cannot hold a candle to the Signal Art. And if you need proof, download the files yourself. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for checking out the video. Make sure you subscribe to all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.